I believe it is 12:30. It is 12:30.
It's time. It's time. It's cartoon time.
Welcome, Zenkaikon.
Woo! It's been a long time. How y'all doing out there? I'm getting very low energy waves. So I'll take it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
This isn't one of those like.
Oh no, we're loud, so.
And proud. And you already
get used to it, right? So anyway, welcome to our first panel, Living in a TV Animation Golden Age.
Current cartoons to check out.
So, a little bit about us first and foremost. Wanted to present us with our duck sodas
We
here.
should probably also introduce ourselves.
So, my name is Forward Progress. I'm founder of the Keeping Friendship Magic Project. I'm also the Director of Programming for TrotCon, so if anybody wants to come to an amazing convention over in Ohio, come see me, I have all the details, but I digress. I'm a lover of all things cartoon. You can see I'm wearing a My Little Pony shirt as it stands, so.
And my name is Kermit the Grog, and I just like talking talking about cartoons. Also pictured here is our associate Nova Rose,
who's in the front row.
It was along for us for a lot of this research.
And is also cosplaying a cartoon character.
Correct. Very fitting.
Yes.
So that's us. So let's talk about why we are perfectly situated to talk about this, that what we say has meaning. Here are our credentials. We've watched all these shows. None of these shows are the shows we're talking about today. We've watched a lot of things.
And the vast majority of these we've watched within the last 2 years.
Yes, the pandemic was a hell of a time to watch cartoons.
We basically, the two of us, both worked from home. So we basically had our little,
bubble,
yeah. Our little pandemic pod.
My little pod chat.
And yes, we actually have a group chat between us that's called My Little Pod Chat. Yeah, do with that what you will. However, it allowed us an opportunity to be like, hey, there's a lot of shows that people are like, I should watch this, or why don't you check this out? So it's like, screw it, let's do it.
Yeah. So yeah, we've watched a lot, we know what we're talking about. So let's get to what this panel is about. This panel is the idea that we are living in an animation golden age. Now, it's kind of like with, it's like civilization. It's not that it's like there wasn't good stuff before, and now there is now. Your civilization's always making culture. It's always making great works. But when you're in the golden age, it's just like things are popping up. Forward, what would you say? How would we define this?
So when we sat down and we talked about doing this panel, we had to say, what is our definition for a golden age of animation? And we just basically broke it down into 3 words. Concentration of bangers.
There are always bangers through all time. It's that they're all concentrated together in a group of time, sometimes called an age.
Yes, so we took a look. We're gonna show you a few things about how we kind of determined that we're in a golden age, other than just the vibe that we were feeling just from watching.
Got actual time dates. It's crazy.
But
we did science.
We do want to give a few caveats before we start digging into everything, though.
So first off, we're just talking TV. There was some pretty great, theatrically released animation. It was great, but this is purely episodic television.
Yep, and we've been seeing a lot more, and there's a lot of interesting things happening with animated films right now. But specifically, TV just seems to have just an era about it.
It's doing its thing. Yeah.
Another thing was this is specifically Western animation. We love anime.
Love it to death.
We've been watching everything that's on this list here. I, for one, cannot wait for the next season of Agretzko.
I can't wait for the next season of Jujutsu Kaisen.
Speaking of which,
I can't wait for Spy Family to start.
Oh God, everybody's been talking about Spy Family.
Can't shut up about it.
I know, now you're getting me all like. Anyway. By the way, if you're an Agretzko fan, and you're going to be here at 1 a.m., come to Mad Lib Theater. Anyway, the other thing here is that we decided to not do much with adult. There is a little bit of adult that we are going to talk about, but you'll see kind of how we talk about it.
Yeah, this is kind of our biggest caveat one. Personally, like, I don't take in a lot of that, especially like kind of your animated sitcom, a lot of what Netflix is making right now, but not all of it. But it's just not my wheelhouse. It's not what felt like it fit within what we were talking about. And also just stated, like, I don't really watch it, so I can't really talk about it with any authority.
Yeah, and now granted too, like, we're not dissing any of this, except maybe Family Guy, but no, I'm just kidding.
You love Big Mouth.
But no, I love Big Mouth, but it's got a niche audience. So, you know, we wanted to talk about things that had a little bit more of a broader appeal. So, I'm going to give this one a lot of credit for this next slide here. So what we did, and more specifically what he did, was break down a timeline.
I put a timeline together, which sadly is probably hard to read from your sitting. But basically, I thought of all of the major animated shows that I could think of, and made a timeline of when they started and when they ran, all of them color-coded to the networks that were putting them out. So I think the next slide then has it a little bit closer to kind of where we're talking about. So this is where you can see why I'm getting the idea of like the golden age. You can see this really clear little like whoop. I wish I had like a John Madden, like, oh, Barry threw the ball up here, boom, golden age. Like, do not draw on your screen forward. That's not how it works. A laser pointer? Here, let me, yeah. Oh, right over there. That's where you hit him. Boom! Animation, got the wazoo. So we're
asking ye shall receive.
So we're using that as the general idea that we've entered that there is a golden age, which we're calling about 2018 to now-ish.
Now-ish, yeah.
Ish. We'll get to the ish later. That's not important right now.
So we had to take that timeline you saw and figure out what shows we can talk about in an hour. And
8 shows, each getting about 5 minutes, which is not enough time.
It's not enough shows. It's not enough time. And I'm not gonna lie, this was hard. We had a lot of debates. Now, if there's a show we don't talk about, doesn't mean we don't love it and we don't include it in there. There's a ton at the end we're gonna show, and if we have time, maybe get a couple of bits in about. We tried to focus on a couple of ones that maybe we feel didn't get as much attention, so to speak.
The ones that are the most popular, people already know about them, so we don't really need to tell them about them. This is kind of pulling up the ones that are still popular, but maybe not as many people are talking about. We tried to get a wide variety of show types because it's just really easy to do episodic, teen, fantasy, adventure, and they're all great. But you know, we're trying to give you a sampler plate, people. It's a flight. You get a little taste of everything.
Welcome to our appetizer sampler of animation. So, that being said, we're going to kick this off with our first title here. Each of us are going to give our little bits about it, but I'm going to let Kermit here start off with, and all of these, by the way, we're presenting in order of release.
Correct. This is not worst to greatest. It is literally just when they started coming out, I think for the most part. We might have fudged some things with certain months and things, but whatever. So first off, I'm talking about Rapunzel Tangle Adventure, which ran 3 seasons, finished a couple years ago, also called Tangle the Series. I don't know why the name changed.
It was called Tangled the Series, I believe, in the first season, and then they changed it to Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure. Disney. That's my answer.
So Disney, the name is somewhere else. 66 episodes across 3 seasons, 22-minute episodes. It's here and there in a song. So I'm gonna guess, but I could be wrong. How many of you guys have seen the Tangled movie? Okay,
yeah.
Okay, how many of you actually watched the show then? Okay, pretty good number. Yeah, I guess Rose, we watched it, so I don't know why I was confused when I saw him with it. So to make sure that we all know what's going on, so first the movie happens, Tangled the movie happens, and then they made a TV movie that was a lead into the cartoon called Tangled Before Ever After, and then the show happens, and then that short they put out later where they actually get married happens.
Well, actually, the short was earlier.
But the short came out sooner. But in the Tangled timeline, the very important timeline.
So So essentially here, this Tangled short, Tangled Ever After, premiered. I don't remember what movie.
I believe it was like the next movie it played before it, or it was like on the DVD.
But it's kind of like, you know, when you go to a Disney movie in the theaters and they have that special short that's in front of it. That's what this was. Later on down the line, though, they made that TV movie and the series, which basically is supposed to explain what happens in between the first Tangled movie And the Tangled Ever After short.
Of how they're gonna get married, because they're not married when the show starts. But before we get into the specifics, watching this series has freaking rocketed everybody involved up to like the top of my Disney favorites list. Like they're just the best. There is freaking Rapunzel and Eugene and Pascal, and then everyone else at the bottom now.
We legitimately had a conversation of trying to figure out if there were any animal companions we would rank higher than Pascal.
And the
this was
answer
a
is no.
legitimate conversation.
I will say one thing though, if you try to go back to the movie, because we tried to do that after watching the show, it doesn't look right. Like you'd think that kind of stylized animation wouldn't age that poorly, but just her face seems wrong. Like I don't know, we were big bummed about it.
No, it's one of those things too about they were made at different times, slightly different art styles.
But
too.
also like multiple decades have passed. CG animation ages usually like
yeah.
So okay,
so
but we're not talking about that. We're talking about cartoons.
Yeah. Just know if you're trying to watch it one right after the other, it might be a little jarring.
Yes. So the show mainly follows our two main characters from the movie, Rapunzel and Flynn Rider, otherwise known as Eugene Fitzherbert. And their kind of trials and tribulations of like they're together, they're not together, they're going to get married, and all that kind of stuff. But the show adds a third main character, the sword lesbian. I forgot the name. Sorry, what's the name? Cassandra. It's been a hot minute. And she really nicely like rounds out the cast of our trio. That she is somebody who's lived in the kingdom. She is the daughter of the captain of the guard. She is Rapunzel's like handmaiden.
And she's a lady in waiting.
Lady in waiting. And she kind of rounds out our little trio. And even outside of that, like I think I had on the first slide, like all the voice cast from the movie comes back, and like everybody that comes in is fantastic. They add a bunch of characters, which normally you think wouldn't like work, but it just like everybody is just working. Like they took this really simple like fairy tale story and then kind of did their own thing with it, and it just works together. And but it takes all the things that happen in the movie, and that kind of gets into one of the things that surprised us the most about it.
I want to add in really quick, just on the music note too. Like having somebody like Mandy Moore as your main character instantly makes your music amazing. And just there's so many, like we will literally sing the songs from it. Like we'd sit there and sing the theme song at every episode.
So good.
That and Cassandra at one point gets an epic solo song.
So the one thing that really surprised us about this is that there was like a lot of really dark themes in it, unexpected. Because again, you've seen Tangled. It's very the princess is in the tower, she comes down, whatever, and like really like dark fantasy magic, but also dealing with like genuinely dealing with like Rapunzel's been in a tower all her life, that like being tied down in the castle in a marriage is a greatly distressing thing, and Eugene also trying to settle down after being like an adventurer abroad, and Cassandra's like everybody's dealing with a lot more like actual social problems than you expect, on top of the general like darkness that I was not expecting, and like magic and peril. So I wanted to try to capture that a little bit, because it's like you've seen the movie, you know how charming everybody can be. So this is a little bit later, because they start going on to fantasy adventures. Can you start the video, because I don't know how to do it?
Yep, I got it. Turn it up.
I'm using it. Where does it go?
Where did it go?
Or is it just my videos that have it?
No.
Right, is there like an audio slider here? Display settings maybe? I'm sorry, people. I know it did, but we weren't in presenter mode. What do you think again? Does it stop?
It worked earlier.
I'm sorry, folks. We've got some technical difficulties.
It wouldn't be a panel if there weren't technical
Does the three
difficulties.
dots do something? Is that like an audio?
Subtitles.
We end it. Would it
Let's
play
find
on
out.
this? Sorry, folks. Oh, it's not presenting over there.
Well, what happened?
I don't know.
No.
Is it still going to the speakers?
Let's find out.
Good, okay. I'm sorry, folks. I thought we already checked. Why does it keep going back to that? No, the stream speakers, wasn't it?
No.
You didn't change it.
It's not the screen speakers.
Oh, it isn't?
No.
Wither and decay.
It's not
Okay,
showing
well
us.
now we got audio but no video.
What if you present again, will it work? Just use a different audio stream when you're doing it?
That's so weird.
Oh.
Wither and decay.
We got it!
End this destiny. Break these earthly chains and set the spirit free. Wither and decay. End this destiny. Break these earthly chains and set the spirit free. Wither and decay. End this destiny. Break these earthly chains and set the spirit free.
Like it goes hard, and you're just not expecting it to, but it works.
Wither and decay.
Maybe more we can talk about.
End this destiny. Break these earthly chains and set the spirit free. The spirit free.
So yeah, it freaking Tangled the series goes. It freaking goes there. We're gonna try to speed this up. So we kind of talked about this a little bit. Besides the dark fantasy that pops up, and it's like, wow, this is great, unexpected. Like we were talking about, there's a lot of themes of people dealing with their past traumas, and that goes throughout the whole show and kind of, you know, changes how people are interacting. But on top of all that, though, it's not all doom and gloom. There is a lot of really charming, like, humor and just the way the characters interact. Like, Shorty is just such a, like, blessing, especially when things get darker in the later seasons, of just bringing some genuine levity to things. So,
Paul F. Tompkins
oh my
is
gosh,
a genius.
He's a blessing on any show he shows up. So, you can catch Tangled the Animated Series, all 3 seasons, and the TV movie are on Disney+. So, go check it out.
All right. So, our second choice
Yeah.
is DuckTales. Woo! Woo-hoo. All right. Who here remembers the 80s DuckTales and saw that? Okay. Now, how many of you have also seen the reboot? If you haven't, watch it. I will say, not only is this, we're going to talk about this in a moment, but my gold standard when it comes to the concept of a reboot, it's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Yep.
As I said, this is a semi-reboot, and I'm going to explain what I mean by that in just a minute here of the 1987 series. It came out 30 years after the original here. You can find 74 episodes in 3 seasons on Disney+. It just ended last year with one heck of a series finale. So, like I said, I would call this the reboot done right. So, here you have a slide from the 80s versus now, and we're going to get into a lot more specifics, but there was a lot of things that it did that not only brought it into the modern age, but also really made it stand apart from the original in a lot of ways. A good example here is the triplets, and we're going to talk about a little bit more about them in a bit, but if you watch any classic Disney or the original DuckTales, Chewie, Dewey, and Louie were essentially one person inhabiting 3 bodies. They all the same voice, the same mannerisms, the same persona, so to speak, the same personality. Not that way in the 2017 reboot. Nowhere near. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here. The other thing here, not only is that what they did, one of the biggest reasons why I call it a semi-reboot here, is it pulls a lot from the DuckTales comic books, which have been going on for, gosh, I don't even know how long.
A long time. The people, I would call them duckheads who came out of the woodwork in my animation threads when that reboot was announced. It's like, where did these people come from? What is this?
So it wasn't necessarily like, it's a reboot in the same way that every time a new Batman movie comes out, that's a reboot.
It is taking it from everything that came before, but it's choosy about it.
Exactly. So it pulled from the 87 series, but it also pulled a lot from the comics and established just characters, established plots, all of that here.
It's very Marvel-y in that way.
Yeah, Marvel, Batman, DC, all of that type of stuff. So we wanted to show a little clip that just showed a lot of the different characters' personalities here to really kind of sell that here.
Just gonna have
Oh, come on! Well,
you have to like stop. Was it go back and go to it, or do you have to stop and start it?
all right, hang on. If I can
I know, right?
This is it.
Okay, what the?
I thought it was just gonna be my first.
I don't know.
This is it. One night, every house in town, and we'll score enough to last us all year. Suit up. Blathering blatherspent. I love Halloween. The pageantry, the mischievous pranks, and of course the trick-or-treating. Yep, this will be the best Halloween ever.
So says I, Baylor, Demon King of the Evil Eye. The Evil Eye curse that plagued 17th century Europe? The roots of Halloween? A day to disguise yourself to trick the demons or appease them with sweet treat offerings. A celebration of fear and conquering that fear.
I'm a pirate on vacation.
You're supposed to blend in with the monsters by wearing scary costumes.
There's nothing scary about tonight. What are you supposed to be?
No, Junior Woodchuck rule 9 million. Halloween is about candy and only candy.
You are a lazy costumer. Quit stretching my hat.
We have the same head. Forget the legwork. I got a plan to make us candy billionaires. Nothing is going to scare me.
Nameless house. Guess that will be no Halloween handout here.
Yeah, let's see every time. Being able to
So,
actually-
well, you're kidding.
I'm sorry.
Gee, it's almost like my next slides were about the cast. So anyway, as you can see, they all have really unique personalities and unique voices, and what a phenomenal voice cast they got here. We have here the triplets plus Webby here. Just big shout out to Bobby Moynihan, is amazing as Louie. Ben Schwartz, who I put on my bucket list that I want to meet that man someday. If you don't know, he's also the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog in the Sonic movies. He's actually, and this is a fun fact, when they were doing press for the first Sonic movie, Ben Schwartz would interrupt the interview to talk about DuckTales. That's how much he loved being on the set. Again, just continuing that, we got a couple of Saturday Night Live alums, just amazing, amazing talent on this series here. But the star, getting David Tennant to be Scrooge McDuck was just a stroke of getting an actual Scotsman to play the Scotsman.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it?
And he does a killer job with it.
He did a killer job. He loved the role. The cast would, like, when they were ending the series, the cast were doing videos together. They were posting to YouTube. It emanates from it. Like, you can feel that this cast loved being a part of this series. So, one of the things that really got to us is this ability to juggle characters. Like, you would have A plot, B plot, C plot, sometimes even D plot.
And some of them involving multiple characters within a single plot, and then would weave them all together
And it
effortlessly.
worked! Because, like, check out, like, all of these characters on there all had a story.
That was compelling and interesting.
Every single one you see in that image. Talking about the major themes of the show, well, there was one major theme that stood out. And that is the theme of family. Boy, did it talk about family here, and it talked about it in a big way. It really played into not just the family that is blood, but the family that you choose, and it was so big. And I don't want to make spoilers, but trust me, it plays a lot as the series goes on. Because the series starts with Scrooge being kind of curmudgeonly and, you know, like, I don't care about family. And then the nephews and Donald are kind of thrust upon him. And by the way, lots of Donald Duck in this series.
Lots of good Donald
and
Duck.
amazing Donald Duck.
I never got hype about Donald Duck before.
I know.
He was always my least favorite, and now he's like, this is awesome. He's like an anime character.
I want more Donald, like, he really is like
Legit.
an anime character in this series.
He's literally the best at fighting. Like, you forget there's all these, like, crazy, magical, technological adventures, and literally just Donald Duck in a one-on-one fight wins every time. That is just a rule of the universe. Exactly.
Yes!
He was okay.
They include that in the series.
It's all canon.
So, another big thing about the series, though, is, well, let me ask, anybody else grow up coming home from school in the afternoon, flipping on the Disney afternoon block? Yep. This is the series for you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
we
sorry.
both, we just, I know, you go. We both want to gush about this.
Characters and plot lines from Goof Troop, from Tailspin, from Darkwing Duck, from Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers,
From the Gummy Bears.
was it Bugsy or whatever in
Bubsy
this?
show, no, not Bubsy. Bubsy, no, what?
It's
Is it Bub? No, Bubsy. Bubsy.
You're talking about Bonkers?
Bonkers!
If I had something to give you for that, I would. But yeah, Bonkers shows up. All of this shows up. And here's the thing. It doesn't feel forced.
Never.
It doesn't feel fake.
Never.
It feels genuine in a way that I just can't believe. It basically sets up a Darkwing Duck spin-off series.
And it plays into why you got the Darkwing Duck perfectly!
So, anyway, we love this series. Definitely worth checking out. All 3 seasons are on Disney Plus. Definitely worth checking out.
Big.
So, before I take the mic for the entire thing, I'm going to switch it back over to Andrew to talk about our next series.
Cool, so we are finally jumping networks out of Disney into Cartoon Network with Craig of the Creek. Started in 2018, running till to now. 4 seasons are out, the 5th one is on the way. All of the 4 seasons are currently available on HBO Max. There are 130 11-minute episodes. This is our first 11-minute show instead of our 22 minutes. So before I even get into it, because Craig of the Creek for me is a vibe, we're going to play the intro because that's what I thought best captured the thing that I love.
Place your bets.
Will it work? Probably not. It's hidden.
Okay, that's fine. You learned it.
Just try stop and then start. Or do you think you have to play it there first?
Let's find out.
So Craig of the Creek to me is like the generation that I grew up, like the idealized fantasy child outside when you and all the other neighborhood kids like went in the woods and you had your little friend pack, and then there was an entire kids society of like different things. So it's like, and I'm just such a sucker for this. So it's like, oh, over on the meadows, there's the horse girls, literally like doing like horse dressage and like eating grass and stuff, or like the ninja kids who read manga, or there's the elders who are the teens under a rock, the teen boys under a rock playing D&D. There's like the paintball war, there's like the bike kids or something like, there are all these little like pockets, this entire like kingdom. And it captures that so great. It reminds me, if you remember old shows like Recess or Kids Next Door, where it's like, there's the digger kids, that's just what they do. And like, I'm such a sucker for this. So we see through all this of the lens of our 3 main characters of Craig, JP, and Kelsey. So Craig is our main character. I love that gift because it's the ending audio clip when the episode's in. He's your kind of thinky, feely type. He does well at math in school. His like big thing is like drawing maps of the creek, and sometimes he will like build things. Like he's kind of the main brain of the operation. But it's cool seeing that as like the main character instead of a side character. He's kind of the main point of the trio. Then you have JP, who's the like lovable oaf. He's like a little bit older. He gets into trouble. He's got a good heart. He gives me big Ed from Ed and Eddie vibes, which now that I say it out loud, doesn't actually help me communicate what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I feel like if you look at him, it's the big tall dumb one. But like, he's the one that will most like just like kind of pull fourth wall stuff and surprise you. But like, he's super charming. And then rounding out our trio is Kelsey, who is basically constantly living in a young adult fantasy novel. She has a PVC pipe sword. A lot of the time she will, in her head, narrate, like she's like a narrator talking about her exploits. She has a little bird familiar named Mortimer, who's a peacock, or not peacock, why did I say peacock?
Parrot.
Parrot, no. It's a parrot. It's a parakeet.
Parakeet, yeah.
Parakeet. And they just they make a really fun trio. And on top of all that, with this whole cast, you can get it in your head. The representation is really good. You get to see, meet Craig's whole family, and even outside of that, there's all this other stuff. And also, his dad's freaking played by Terry Crews, and that rules.
That tells me right there.
And it's also weird hearing an adult man with children be nostalgic about the Dreamcast, and I husk out a little bit, but it's really cool. Oh my gosh, he's here are sprites from freaking Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and he's super hype about it.
I miss Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Everybody does.
And the Dreamcast.
Also, there's a Sonic takeoff called Slide the Ferret, who's great. I love all of Slide the Ferret. Craig is super into Slide the Ferret. But outside of that, this show is also really LGBTQ friendly, which there's other shows that we're going to talk about that are also good at that, but there's something I think that's really special when you have it with kids in actual world, and not here's a fantasy world, but these are all teenagers or adults. You get a little taste of everything. There's the as you can see, a freaking lesbian kiss on screen. There's gay couples. The bottom right is an asexual child. It's got a really good way of doing it all, but it never is the focal point of the episode. It is my favorite version. I mean, I love all versions of representation, but it's just here it is present, it's a thing. Nobody really makes a big deal about it. It's just who they are. And especially when it comes to kids, when people get all uppity about that stuff, I love that stuff. So you can check out Craig the Freak. All the 4 seasons are out currently on HBO Max, with the 5th coming whenever it comes out. I don't remember the timetable.
So earlier we did say we were going to talk slightly adult. This is going to be our one adult.
Well, technically.
Kind of
one adult and one teenage, we'll say. But this is definitely adult.
This one's definitely
I get to
adult.
double dip. It's me again. I'm going to be talking about Tuca and Birdie, which started in 2019 and is currently still running. As I said, or I guess with it still running, there were 2 seasons, the 3rd is on the way. 1 is on Netflix, 1 Adult Swim released. I'm assuming, I guess Adult Swim is doing the next one.
I would assume. I think they picked it up for 2 seasons when they picked it up.
That's nice. Okay. There are currently 20 episodes. Each season has 10 episodes, running the normal 22 minutes.
Because if you paid any attention there in the animation channels for a bit, when Tuca and Birdie got canceled, people were not happy.
Because everybody thought with that and BoJack ending that it was because the animation studio unionized, and Netflix was like, no. I still don't actually know if that's what happened.
We don't know. We
doesn't
don't
matter.
work there.
That's not what
don't
this
take them and don't swim.
So if you've never seen Tuca and Birdie, it stars Tuca, like a toucan, these 2 friends, and Birdie, like a bird. Tuca is the more wait a second, remember bird? Tuca is the more outgoing people, party type, just extrovert, out there. And her friend Birdie is the exact opposite, the introvert, kind of, anxious, not necessarily shy, but not as kind of socially outward. So they make a very interesting pair, but they are also best friends. And a good chunk of the show is seeing that interaction of the 2 of them, since clearly known each other for a long time, for better and worse in different situations. But it's really neat being able to see that friendship play out and the foibles of it. Also, Birdie's, are they married? I don't think they're married. Boyfriend. Yeah, boyfriend Speckle. He's got a good bit of comic relief, but he's not really, you don't really follow him. He's not really a main character. So if this animation style is looking kind of familiar, if you remember BoJack Horseman from Netflix, it's the same studio. I just started watching BoJack finally recently after him and Rose telling about it for ages, and I'm loving it. But the one thing that I get is even though both of them are talking animals dealing with more adult problems, there's just a completely different vibe to Tuca and Birdie. So one of the things that just even makes it different in its animation and the way the world is built is even though it's an adult thing, if you remember Richard Scarry's Busy Town, there's a certain vibe to that, just all this stuff. The world, it's the subway is like a snake, and sometimes there's a helicopter that looks like an apple, which feels like such a bite out of that. And I've been trying to, every time we watch BoJack, I've been trying to be able to figure out how to describe why they're different, because it's cartoon characters, real world problems. But there is, the real world problems are realer, and the cartoon fantasy is more absurd and all over the place. So we're dealing with stuff, just finding yourself like sexual harassment at work, like trying your life goals, finding a therapist, dealing with like past traumas. I mean, I feel like a lot of these shows are talking about traumas, but like it feels
in different ways.
Dealing with like one of the most real and like relatable, dealing with a toxic partner that I have ever experienced. And myself and Rose can speak to this when we were watching it, of just like instantly like red flags go up and like, oh no. Like it was the realest, but it helps kind of get patted out from the comedy and the absurdity of certain moments. So I'm actually going to take a clip of this, of Birdie in the second season is trying to find a therapist. We have to go back and then go back in.
Let's just see what
That's not going to, no.
Okay,
no.
I just wanted to
We
check.
learned the pattern now. Don't follow the steps.
Alright, just don't forget about it.
So what normally happens when
Well, Speckle and Tuca help me, which is terrible. It's such a burden on them. Like, if I bought this dinner, Speckle would for sure dump me and get a super chill girlfriend, and she would Tuca's new best friend.
I know how to serve, and I never should.
Tuca and Speckle haven't dumped you yet?
But they will. I'm like a haunted house. I'm trapping on the outside, but the more I let other people in, the more they'll see what I'm really like. And it'll be too much, because I'm freaking haunted.
Maybe they want to go into a haunted house, and they want help.
I feel like creepy girls facing the corner with no face and shit.
You don't have to fix yourself before letting them in.
Nope. I didn't come here to not fix myself. I could have done that in not therapy. I'm here because I'm fixing to get fixed. If you can't help me, I'll just keep trying like a therapist.
Totally cool. We've got 20 minutes left on the clock.
No,
Sorry.
I like the ending bit on that one. But not the other ending because we chop it short.
Right.
Just keep going.
Okay.
There's a bit where it's like, hey, we can keep chilling here, you've got 20 minutes, I'm just gonna watch pottery fail videos, and then the therapist laughs, she's like, oh my gosh, it was something beautiful, and now it's just mush! But just like, that literally sounds like things that when I'm freaking out, my therapist has told me, even just the idea of like trying to find a therapist and understanding what therapy is, but that mixed with like, literally like her face changing into a haunted house, and like just all of that, like it mixes it really well, and something that I think, I don't know, I really like and I wanted to include it on it because it really resonated with me. So, season 1 you can catch on Netflix still, season 2 is on Adult Swim, I think it's on their website, TV channels having shows are still kind of weird to me, so that's that. Go
I
check
haven't
out
had cable in years.
Like
But, alright. So, we get it back to me for a show that I love this show. If you have not seen Infinity Train, let me try to describe it to you without being too spoilery. This is the one I think we had the hardest time when we were trying to put together our notes for, because the way the series goes, we don't want to spoil too much.
No.
So, but if you like an element of mystery, this show is definitely for you. What happens is that this is from the first season here, so our main character from season 1, and I'll explain later why I say that, is on this train. Ends up on this train, and it's a very unique train, and suddenly she has a number in the palm of her hand. And this number changes as she makes her way throughout the train.
But like, not consistently.
Yeah, sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. Sometimes it goes down by a little, sometimes it goes down by a lot. So, and you don't know why the number's there. What does it mean? What does it mean why it's changing? And each season kind of has that mystery. Each season, you're trying to figure out what's going on that's causing the number to change and what will get that number to 0. So the way that Infinity Train works is it is literally an infinite train that exists in some kind of, I don't know,
Dimension?
ethereal zone, dimension, I don't know what you want to call it. But each car is its own unique thing. All 4 of these on here are all 4 cars from the first season. A crossword car, a beach car, etc., etc. And one cool thing, there are 4 seasons of this show. They never repeat a car once.
No.
with one kind of exception.
Yeah.
There's one kind of exception, but the title of each episode will be like the crossword car.
The clown car.
It's the title of the episode.
There aren't clowns, don't worry.
So each car has unique characters, different scenarios, things they have to work through. Now the reason I said earlier specifically that image was the season 1 main character is this is an anthology series, meaning each season is focused on a different main character, or characters, as in the case of season 4. So each season you meet a new character, and they are figuring out their own mystery each season. So each season's kind of self-contained, however, each season does build upon itself just a little bit. Because you have characters that you will meet in one season on the train, find a way to work back in some way. I don't want to talk too much about it because it'll spoil things. So here's a little teaser. Let's do the, oh, wait a minute. No.
You have to, it's just,
Okay.
It's picky.
It's okay.
It's picky.
I request to accompany you on your journey.
Whoa! I faced a bunch of weird stuff on this train.
So scary. Those were dancing.
Dancing is scary.
Awfully morbid little thing, aren't you?
Yes.
This is so cool! What's in the next train car?
Return to your seat.
You're in kind of a bad place right now.
What's this? Getting off this train.
It's too dangerous to rush in alone.
Let's band together and attack the monster.
Aye, Captain. Let us be on our way. Across the great river and through the twisting woods of mystery, you shall find the unsolvable puzzle door.
We're not stopping for anything.
Tell me, kid, do you want to get off this train?
I love the soundtrack. Oh, that's insane.
The soundtrack's amazing. So, I do want to warn you, we talked about the series, we do need to warn you, especially if anybody's got kids that they're gonna watch it with you. Season 3 gets heavy. To the point, I'm gonna take down my mask for this. After watching the season 3 finale, I literally did this.
Yeah, like, we had to legit just, like, jaw drop.
None of us talked for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was like, it was one of the most intense things I've seen in animation.
Yeah, so just wanted to warn you guys about that.
The others aren't that intense, don't worry.
It's great,
Yeah,
it's wonderful,
it's amazing.
but it's a lot.
It's
now,
be ready.
as we
Not
said,
so
there's been 4 seasons, and that's been it so far. So, is the series is done, or is it? That's something that technically it's done right now. It's not been picked back up by Viacom at all, or is it Viacom? Whatever, Warner, that owns HBO Max. But as you can see on the screen here, there has been campaigns on Twitter. This is me scrolling through the hashtag #SaveInfinityTrain. All of these posts are for people organizing to save this series and bring it back. The series creator, Owen Dennis, has basically kind of communicated out to people like what he feels is the best way to get that to happen in a positive way. So there have been organized campaigns through social media to make Save Infinity Train trending. It is done so, I think, about 4 or 5 times now. So, that being said, fingers crossed, because they are planned. There are plans, I know, from the creator. There was plans for season 5, quote unquote, was going to be a movie, a standalone movie, and then more seasons beyond that. I think up to like 8 or 9.
Wow.
So, but he basically said, with the concept of the train and it being an infinite train in an anthology series,
it works really good for a lot of
you can do almost infinite possibilities with it. So definitely watch it on HBO Max. If you dig it, pay attention to social media, because I, for one, would love to see the show come back. That being said, here we gotta blast through these last three. So
cool.
Kermit.
So I'll be covering the other semi-adult one. This one's more teenage. I'm covering Primal. It started in 2019. There is one season out with another one coming later this year, actually. You can currently see that one season on HBO Max. It is 10 22-minute episodes. So now, Primal is a very simple show. There's a reason I've included it in the picture. So we follow the exploits of a sort of caveman named Spear, his dragon buddy, not dragon, T-Rex friend, Fang, T-Rex mother friend, Fang, and then they like team up and it's really cool. So right now, this probably doesn't sound very interesting. It's all very like Conan the Barbarian-y, you know, which like doesn't seem like much, but there's just something about Primal and the way it is made and shown, and let me just show you, which we can't do as clean of a segue because we have to do this whole start and stop. But
we're getting there.
It's more quiet than you think for Dinosaur David. Has little to no dialogue, or not even people talking. It takes its time, it's very deliberate, and it has these moments of like high peril and action. So it's hard to really like tell you about it, so I just wanted to kind of give you a vibe. But I can tell you about a man that's really important to you that would hopefully give you a better understanding of what's going on and get you interested in it. So I don't know if you know a man named Gendy Tarakovsky. He's kind of a really big deal in animation. So behind him you can see a lot of the major projects he's worked on that he's the main runner on. I guess the standouts for me are like Dexter's Laboratory, Samurai Jack, the Clone Wars series. I know he's worked on some other things. So like think Samurai Jack, but like a little bit more adult, and like just like it's not saying like I'm all jazzed up, I'm gonna watch some cartoons. It's like this is you. You sit down, you turn off the lights, and you take it in. Every little moment, like everything is made crafted
very visual,
very deliberately. This is a man who is like at the top of his animation craft, doing exactly what he wants. Like this is we've talked about amazing shows, but this one is like the one that I would call like art. It's also brutal at times and like gore, haha. But it is also like, because it does, like I can see people who are into that kind of thing, like a Turok or something, and Conan the Barbarian. But it is also very like art, but it's like it's a good time. So check it out. You can see the first season on HBO Max. You'll burn through it. It's a good time.
So speaking of series that have large animals that play a role in it, I want to talk about a series called Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts. I discovered this on a whim, just scrolling through Netflix one day back in 2020 and fell in love with it, and then I said to that one, we should watch it, and then we said to this one, we should watch it.
And then we did.
This is what happened. So there's 3 seasons. Interestingly enough, this 2020, it was 2 years ago. I know, don't
the fact that it came out in 1 year.
The whole thing came out in 1 year. It's very interesting to note, and this is not a dissecting animation panel necessarily, but it's a lot of studios now are doing things where they are green lighting 65 episodes all at once. So, and then they release as multiple seasons. So that's kind of a trend that's happening right now. Netflix is a big one.
They don't like paying
a lot of it's for streaming services. So that's a whole other thing.
I don't got time for that.
So, this is, if you're not familiar with it, it is a post-apocalyptic story, but a different kind of post-apocalyptic, where a lot of times with post-apocalyptic, like, when I hear the word post-apocalyptic, another dimension, anyway, my mind goes to two things, Fallout, and Mad Max.
Also true.
This is neither of those. What happens is something happens that creates some kind of mutation in animals where they gain the ability, like cognition and everything, and they start to grow. See, sentience,
I guess that's like a robot
but they
thing.
are sentient.
Yeah, they're
already.
sentient.
Yeah, exactly. So you get all of these different types of characters, and the thing I love too is they all form their own different little factions for the various animals. So you have the timber cats, and you have the hard rock snakes, you have the intellectual wolves, you have the frog mafia.
They're mod from Griffin. It's mod frogs.
Mod.
That's why they ride little notepads.
Okay, well, you get the point. So this is the world we are. So basically, humans have been driven underground because animals now rule the surface.
It's very current logic, isn't it?
Kind of in a way, but different. There's no mess. So our traveling party here that you get to have is Kipo there in the middle, Benson on the right, and Wolf on the left, complete with Mondo and Dave. Dave the Bug.
Dave the Bug.
Dave the Bug is amazing.
He's great.
So, basically, Kipo gets out of her burrow, is forced out of her burrow when they get attacked by a giant mutant, is what they call them on the series, one of the mutant animals, and has to try to find her way to find her family, and then meets up with these folks along the way, and then they learn a lot more about what's going on. So to give you a sense of the characters here and the world they're in, we'll try a clip again. Really?
Yeah, I know, we followed the normal steps.
Okay. Weird. Now I'm ruining the slide.
Video.
Yeah, I know, we're working on it.
There we go.
Something's wrong here.
We need to work out that.
You're not moving! Let's go!
Was not expecting that.
I guess jazzercise.
Jazzercise are good, so.
Does anyone see the lunchbox?
Wait, is that it?
Humans! Hi. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, it's going to a garbage.
Oh, humans! Oh, man! This is pretty.
I love the raccoons. The jazzercise raccoons are great. So, a lot of themes of friendship and fighting against bigotry. Fighting against bigotry is like your #1 theme of this show, because basically what you end up learning is that there is very much like a lot of misconceptions and all these different things, and that everybody's fighting against one another instead of coming together. It's
Like the actual villains.
It sounds like something we might experience here in the real world.
But, so it's one of the things you see here. And another great thing is, like, representation in the series is amazing. From all aspects, whether it be gender, just LGBT in general, honestly, just Troyson for life, if you've watched the series.
It's got a really good,
It's great. racially, ethnically, just so many different things. And they're represented in like major characters. It's great, and it's never an issue, which is, again, to talk to your point earlier. And music styles. Earlier I mentioned that there was the rocker snakes. There is the dubstep bees.
Yeah. The K-pop narwhals.
K-pop narwhals. They have abs. Narwhals with abs, people. So, long story short, because we have 5 minutes, I gotta run through this.
Yeah.
See it on Netflix. The whole thing is on Netflix.
Go.
Speaking of Netflix, also on Netflix is Centaur World. 2 seasons. It has completed as designed. Although the creator has said that she would not mind going back to that world to do future projects.
Okay, cool.
All on Netflix. Essentially, it's an isekai with a horse. So our main character is literally named Horse, and she is a horse, a war horse, who gets transported to another world full of centaurs and is trying to find her way back home. So one interesting thing is, since there are 2 worlds, there are 2 animation studios that worked on this. One animation studio is for the, our world, like the human world where she's coming from. And then another animation studio here for Centaur World. Interesting to note, I forget which one it is, but one of the 2 animation studios also worked on Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure that we talked about earlier.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Major themes, journeys of discovery. The characters are all the different characters, your main characters, and especially Horse, are kind of looking to find themselves, and they do it in very interesting ways. Music everywhere. I think I'm gonna have to skip it.
No, the clip's so
Okay, I'll get to the clip. This show is a musical.
Yes.
If you Google Centaur World, in the description on Google says Centaur World musical as the show.
That and then hit it start slide. Don't pause it, slide, pick it up. No! Why? Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to deal with how is this gonna work for that one?
We'll figure it out.
Okay. We're like almost out of time.
We're almost out of time.
Please go watch Centaur World.
Watch
it's
Centaur World.
really
It's
goofy,
amazing.
but there's more going on than it's.
It is very strange. It's very weird. In fact, when I was looking up stuff to images for the slides, and I was going through Google, I googled Centaur World, and then that spot on Google where it goes, people also asked. The number 1 question was, why is Centaur World so weird?
Sorry, this gets great. Please check it out. It's a good time.
So, real quick, because we're almost out of time, we wanted to put here honorable mentions. Some of these are a little more kind of prescient in what everybody's looking at right now, because we really had a hard time there. Picking
not talking about She-Ra, not talking about
Owl or Amphibia.
Our baby Seismanos that literally no human besides us has ever talked about.
If you like adult animation, if you like Castlevania, Seismanos, same people made Seismanos that made Castlevania on Netflix. So
Harley Quinn is so much better than it's any reason to be. I love it.
3rd season's coming.
Hell yeah.
So, what comes next?
So what are we doing next? So we already kind of know in the Disney Zone, Amphibia and Owl House are big deals. I think they literally just started
last weekend.
They both picked back up. Both of them are like in preseason, so those are kind of moving to a close. Other stuff to look out for is the Scott Pilgrim animations coming to Netflix. That looks really dope. I already forgot his name. The guy who did Primal and Samurai Jack, Denny Tarkovsky's got some crazy show that's coming to HBO Max, which is that one in the top right.
And the new Tiny Toon Adventures
reboot sequel of Tiny Toon University. I don't know what it's going to be like, but this is also my thing. I mean, we haven't seen it in motion long, but my point right now is why I said the golden age might be over, is that we still might have good shows, but it just seems like the time thing is like tapering off a little bit. A lot of the major ones are ending, and I haven't really gotten a lot of news about new ones opening. And also hearing rumblings and news of just by the virtue of how animation studios work and contract stuff and quarantine that like a bunch of new ones didn't get picked up right away. So we might have like a little bit of a lull in the middle. But yeah, there's still some cool stuff, finishing. There's still stuff coming out, so check it out. Watch some cartoons. It's 1:30, which means we have to leave. I hope you had a great time.
Thank you guys for coming. Absolutely.
Yes, I'm Kermit the Grog. This is Forward Progress. You can hear me talk about cartoons more on my podcast Ramble Rousers and talk about anime at, what is it? That time I got reincarnated in the same world as an anime podcaster. Thank you and have a fantastic convention. It's so good to see you. You live.